Imagine this. You wake up one morning and the world feels heavier than usual. The news flashes images of chaos, a storm somewhere, a war somewhere else, a silent, invisible shift in economies and dreams. Your phone buzzes, pulling you into 1,000 urgent conversations, none of them truly meaningful. Outside your window, the sky is grey. Or maybe it's blue, but it feels grey inside you. A quiet thought sneaks in, sharp as a blade. What's the point of all this? You move through your day. You answer emails. You buy groceries. You laugh at something you don't really find funny. And deep underneath it all, a hollow space echoes louder than any noise around you. Why are we here? In a world so saturated with noise, options, advancements, and endless information, why does the question still feel so raw, so urgent, so unanswered? Technology promised us certainty, progress promised us clarity, yet here we are, more connected than ever, more advanced than any generation before us, and still quietly terrified of our own existence. We build faster machines, smarter tools, more comfortable lives, but no machine can answer the hunger gnawing at the edges of the human heart. Meaning, purpose, direction. These are not luxuries, they are survival. And yet, uncertainty has never felt so invasive. It seeps through our culture, our relationships, even our sense of self. Jobs disappear overnight. Dreams shift without warning. The future morphs into something increasingly unpredictable. We are taught to prepare, to plan, to predict, and when the world refuses to be tamed, we are left feeling lost, irrelevant, small. But what if the uncertainty itself is not the enemy? What if the chaos you fear is the soil where your truest purpose can take root? Because meaning is not handed to you. It is not a product you can buy or a course you can complete. It is something you carve out of the unknown with your own bare hands. Times of uncertainty are not dead ends. They are doorways, if you dare to walk through them. But first, you must face the most terrifying possibility. What if meaning is not hidden somewhere out there? What if it is waiting inside you, beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the endless need for answers? And if that's true, then the first step is not finding something new. It is remembering something ancient, something you were born with, something you forgot. The map to your meaning is not drawn on the world. It is etched into the quiet, hidden places of your own soul. The world will not hand you clarity. It will offer you distractions. It will offer you opinions. It will offer you endless voices, shouting over each other about what matters. But clarity, real clarity, is not something you find outside. It's something you forge. When everything around you feels uncertain, when the ground beneath your plans shifts like sand, there is only one place solid enough to build a foundation: your own values, not borrowed beliefs, not inherited expectations, not the second-hand dreams of a world chasing shadows. Your values, they are the deep roots beneath the noise, the compass you forgot you carried. But how do you find them when the world is so loud? You begin with silence. You strip away the noise, the opinions, the endless flood of shoulds and musts. You sit with yourself, uncomfortable, restless, unmasked, and you ask, what do I truly stand for? What matters to me? Even if no one is watching, what would I fight for? Even if the world turned its back, and you listen, not to the surface answers, the ones polished by pride or fear, but to the answers that make your hands tremble and your heart ache. Those are the real ones. You can find them in moments you didn't even notice. The anger that rises when you witness injustice, the joy that blooms when you create something beautiful, the peace that settles when you help without expecting anything in return. Your values live in these small, electric flashes. You just forgot how to see them. Journaling can help. Not the kind you share, not the kind you edit for beauty, but the raw kind, the ugly, messy, truthful kind. Pour out the words. Let your hidden truths bleed onto paper. Self-reflection is not a luxury, it is survival. Because if you do not know what you stand for, you will fall for anything. You will be pulled by every wave of fear, every fashion of thought, every new crisis that demands your allegiance. A life lived without knowing your values is not a life. It is a drift, and drift is the silent death of meaning. When you anchor yourself to your deepest truths, uncertainty loses its power to break you. The chaos may rage around you, but inside, you move with a quiet, fierce clarity. You stop chasing guarantees. You start living from a place that no crisis can touch. Meaning is not built from certainty. Meaning is built from conviction. The kind of conviction that doesn't need permission to exist. But values alone are not enough. They are the foundation, not the house. You can know your values and still feel hollow if you never use them, never live them, never let them ignite something larger than yourself. And so the real transformation begins when you take the next step. You stop asking, "What do I need?" and start asking, "What do I have to give?" Because purpose is not something you find by looking deeper into yourself alone. Purpose awakens when you extend yourself into the world, raw, imperfect, needed. But are you willing to risk yourself for something greater? That is the real question. There is a secret no one tells you about meaning. It does not grow in isolation. It is born in the act of giving yourself away. The paradox is brutal and beautiful. You spend your early life searching for yourself, thinking that meaning is hidden inside you, like a buried treasure. But when you find pieces of it, when you feel the first sparks of truth, you realize they are not meant to stay locked inside. They are meant to be spent. Meaning, like fire, only grows when shared. Contribution is not charity. It is not duty. It is life asserting itself through you, refusing to stay small, refusing to stay safe. You were not built only to survive. You were built to add something to the world that would not exist without you. But contribution does not always wear grand costumes. Sometimes it looks like a revolution. Sometimes it looks like a hand reaching out in silence when no one else does. The size of the act doesn't matter. The sincerity does. When you give from your values, not for praise, not for reward, but because something inside you refuses to stay silent, you are doing the sacred work of meaning, and it changes you. It tears down the walls of isolation. It breaks the mirrors of endless self-obsession. It connects you to something timeless, something larger than your fears, your doubts, your smallness. You stop asking, "What do I deserve?" You start asking, "What can I build? What can I heal? What can I love into existence?" Contribution can take 1,000 forms. A teacher staying late to help a struggling student. A stranger speaking up against cruelty when it would be easier to stay silent. A creator pouring their heart into work that might never be recognized but changes one life, somewhere, somehow. And yes, contribution can be activism, mentorship, community, but it can also be a single act of courage, repeated quietly every day. You do not have to save the world. You only have to refuse to let it break you into silence. Because meaning is not a trophy you earn. It is the echo of the lives you touch. And when you move from self-obsession to contribution, you are no longer a question mark waiting to be answered. You become an answer yourself, an answer to fear, an answer to loneliness, an answer to despair. But even contribution, even service, is not the full picture. Because life is not just about giving. It is about becoming fully alive in the process. It is about finding the moments that awaken you so deeply that you disappear into them, not in oblivion, but in presence. It is about stepping into a flow so total that the walls between you and the world vanish. And in that vanishing, you find yourself more truly than you ever did by searching. But how do you find those moments? Where do they live? The answer lies not in force, but in surrender. It lies in finding the currents already moving inside you and daring to swim with them. Flow is not a luxury. It is the language of life at its most awake. You have felt it before. Even if you didn't have the words, it was there when you lost yourself in a craft, a conversation, a moment of pure creation, all focused so complete that time itself seemed to disappear. Flow is where your mind stops tripping over itself, where your fears lose their grip, where the endless chatter inside you falls silent, and only the doing remains. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi called it the secret to happiness, a state of pure, unbroken engagement where challenge meets skill, and both dissolve into something timeless. In flow, you do not watch your life from the outside. You live inside it, fully and fiercely. And this, more than success, more than security, is what your soul craves. Not just to survive uncertainty, but to thrive within it. Not just to endure existence, but to burn brightly inside it. But flow does not happen by accident. It waits for you in the places where difficulty and passion collide, where you are stretched, but not broken, where you are tested, but not defeated. You find it in the music you lose yourself creating, in the story you write and forget the clock exists, in the conversation where words flow like water and laughter feels like flight, in the craft that demands your full heart and rewards you by erasing the walls between you and the world. Flow asks for everything, but it gives everything back. In a world obsessed with outcomes, flow is a rebellion. It is not focused on results. It is focused on immersion, on being so fully alive in the act itself that the fear of failing, the hunger for praise, the addiction to comparison, all of it falls away like ash. You become your truest self, not by chasing approval, but by dissolving into the things that awaken your spirit. And every time you enter flow, even for a moment, you reclaim a piece of yourself from the emptiness of distraction and doubt. But how do you find your flow? You listen. You remember the moments that stole your breath in the best way. You chase the sparks, not the safety. You stretch yourself into the edges of discomfort, where skill and challenge meet. And most of all, you dare to stay when it gets hard. You do not retreat into numbness. You lean deeper into the work, into the craft, into the living pulse of the moment. Because flow is not found by running from struggle. It is found by dancing with it. And the more you build a life around these moments, the more you make flow a practice, not an accident, the more meaning will root itself inside you. Meaning is not somewhere far off, waiting for you to finally get your life together. It is here, hiding inside the moments you are willing to fully inhabit. But even flow, even mastery, is not the final answer, because life will not always feel inspired. Not every day will offer you moments of deep passion. Sometimes, meaning is forged not in brilliance, but in endurance, not in moments of flow, but in moments of choosing to stay awake, even when it hurts. And so, the final key is not to chase only the heights, but to find meaning even in the struggle itself, even in the journey, especially there. Meaning is not a summit you reach one day, exhausted and victorious. It is not a destination where trumpets sound and all questions fall silent. Meaning is a thread woven through the very fabric of your life, invisible sometimes, fragile sometimes, but always there, waiting for you to notice. The journey itself is the meaning, the struggle, the heartbreak, the laughter that rises up on broken days, the resilience you build when the ground gives way. It is easy to think that meaning will arrive when life finally feels perfect, when uncertainty fades, when the map is clear, when your fears fall away like old skin. But that day never comes. There will always be more unknowns. There will always be storms you did not predict. There will always be moments where you question everything, even yourself. And that is not failure. That is life. To live fully is to dance with uncertainty, not to conquer it, but to move with it, to let it shape you into something braver, softer, wiser. You will lose your way sometimes. You will doubt yourself. You will stumble, fall, break open, and still, if you choose, you can find meaning there, in the way you stand back up, in the way you keep your heart open when it would be easier to shut it forever, in the way you keep loving, keep creating, keep hoping, even in the dark, because meaning is not just in the victories, It is in the very act of choosing to stay awake inside your own life. It is in the decision to keep saying yes to growth, to change, to the relentless, beautiful uncertainty of it all. Every moment holds the seed of meaning, even the ones that ache, even the ones that tear you apart, especially those. And the more you live with your heart open to the full storm of existence, the more meaning roots itself inside you, not as an answer, but as a way of being. Stay open, stay curious, stay willing to be broken and remade 1,000 times, because a meaningful life is not built from perfect choices. It is built from courageous ones, the kind of choices that say, I do not know what tomorrow will bring, but I will meet it fully alive. I do not have all the answers, but I will keep asking the right questions. I will not wait for certainty to begin living with purpose. In a world where everything feels uncertain, the most radical thing you can do is to live with fierce presence, to build a life stitched not from guarantees, but from gratitude, from vision, from resilience, from love, not because you know how the story ends, but because you choose to live like it matters anyway. This is how meaning is made, not tomorrow, not someday, now, in this breath, in this broken, beautiful moment, in this ordinary, sacred day you are given. The journey is not in the way, it is the way. Thank you for walking this journey with me. If even one moment stirred something inside of you, hold on to it. It's important. Until next time, stay true to your path.